This is CBC Compass.
This is Tuesday, March 3rd. Here's what's happening now on Prince Edward Island. The PEI government says it's reaching out to islanders whose private information was stolen in a malware attack. The province's server network was breached last weekend, compromising some personal data. And tonight, protecting yourself if you suspect your private information has been stolen. How to avoid becoming a victim of identity theft. Advice from a privacy lawyer on the steps you should take now. And tonight, wishful thinking. A grade 7 student at Amherst Cove Consolidated School in Borden-Carleton kept her promise and shaved her head for a very good cause. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on Compass tonight. I'm Louise Martin. It appears some islanders' personal information has been shared in a cyber attack on the PEI government. The province says it's still working to find out the extent of the data breach, but CBC News has seen what appears to be the website sharing some of that private information, and the site calls it proof there could be more to come. Jessica Doria Brown is on this story for us tonight. Jessica, what did we see?
Well, what's there right now is some information, so a little bit about individual businesses and islanders, but also some about day-to-day operations in various provincial government agencies. So we're not naming this site right now. That's because we don't want to compromise people's privacy. We also don't know whether it's safe for all computers to go there. And the province says that's a good idea.
Yes, so there has been some communication around the site and that it's out there, and so we're recommending curious people not go looking for this site because this organization is trying to gain financial gains by infecting computer systems. So going to a website that they run and host absolutely would put you as a citizen and your computer equipment at risk.
And the province says the amount of information that's actually out there is limited. However, the site claims to have hundreds of gigabytes of data. So depending on what's in that data, that could be a lot of information. And the province has now involved the RCMP in this investigation.
And Jessica, I understand you spoke with a group today who says it actually represents people who may have been a part of this breach?
Yes, I spoke with the Federation of Agriculture earlier today, and Robert Godfrey says he's heard details around 2 programs that farmers use and associated data that may have been released. He says right now all they can do is really just keep an eye on it and be there to support farmers.
We're monitoring the situation, trying to gather as much information as we can and ensure that if someone does call, that we've got some kind of answer. And certainly wishing the government all the best in getting this corrected as soon as possible.
So then I guess the next question is, where does the investigation go from here?
Well, the province says it started to inform people just in the last day or so about this breach and what it might mean for them, and they say they'll continue to monitor it.
So at this point, we are not looking to pay any ransom or communicate with these individuals who purposely tried to steal data from the province. We are more focused on communicating to the public and assisting those citizens that have been impacted by this unfortunate event.
And once again, this investigation is still ongoing. And if your information was part of this breach, you will be hearing from the province.
All right, Jessica, thanks for this. Appreciate it. That's Jessica Doria Brown in studio for us tonight. So how big are the risks to islanders and how often do these types of breaches happen? David Fraser is a privacy lawyer in Halifax and joins me now via Skype. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Happy to.
So this is obviously quite alarming to people here on PEI. How worried should they be?
Well, I think people should be worried quite properly. Any incident that involves the disclosure or the release of personal information, particularly sensitive personal information, should cause some concern, but probably should not cause alarm. I think there are steps that individuals can take in order to mitigate the risk of harm, or at least significantly mitigate that risk. For example, keeping a close watch on your bank accounts and things like that. There are credit alerts that one can place on one's file through the credit bureaus and the credit agencies, and very often organizations that are subject to a breach like this arrange that for individuals whose information might have been compromised. You can contact your bank and let them know that your information might have been subject to a breach like this, so that the bank can take additional steps to, for example, confirm the identity of anybody who purports to be you.
You know, what if you don't know at this point if your information has been involved? Is it just due diligence to be making sure you're monitoring all your different accounts?
I think that generally makes the most sense. In this day and age, we should be very careful about the possibility of identity theft and what's called identity fraud. We're told by police agencies that it's one of the fastest growing crimes. But I'd also bear in mind that certainly there have been hundreds and hundreds of breaches involving similar sorts of information, where in fact there hasn't been a significant uptick of identity theft or fraud associated with them. And so just because one's information might have been involved in something like this doesn't mean it's guaranteed that something untoward is going to happen. But certainly it's anxiety producing in any event. And so I think one needs to be mindful of that, but always be vigilant with respect to our own online accounts and financial situation.
So how should businesses, or in this case, the PEI government, handle these types of situations? Should that ransom be paid?
Well, that's always going to be a judgment call at that time, and we've seen different kinds of attacks that involve ransomware. Sometimes there are two objectives. One is just to get the ransom paid, and many organizations have simply chosen that as the path of least resistance. If the ransom is for $50,000, but it would cost you $200,000 to back up to get all your backups back online, and it would take 3 days to do that. Sometimes paying the ransom is in fact the most economical and kind of the one that has the most business case. But we're always principally concerned about the situations where information might have been exfiltrated, where it's gone out and it's no longer under the control of the original organization.
So is the government now and islanders more vulnerable to other attacks because of this?
Well, certainly there's a greater likelihood or a greater possibility of identity theft in a situation such as this, where information actually has been exfiltrated. But all organizations and frankly individuals are always going to be vulnerable to these sorts of attacks, to ransomware. They usually take advantage of human nature and the fact that kind of humans are very often a significant vulnerability in a system. Individuals click on phishing links, individuals open attachments when perhaps they shouldn't have. But also the attackers are getting even more sophisticated than they ever were before, and are getting more clever at tricking people into opening those attachments, which of course invites the malware onto our systems. So it's an evolving and more complicated, what we call kind of a threat environment or a threat landscape that I think we need to be more vigilant almost every day and be mindful of, and try to keep a level of awareness of what these sorts of things are, and to be always careful before we click, and be very, very careful. Never enter your banking password, for example, on any site other than your bank, and only if you know absolutely for sure, for example, is one step that we can take to reduce the risk of something untoward happening to us.
Good advice there. David Fraser, thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Well, Jay Scotland is out on location again tonight as part of our awesome tour of some backyard rinks on PEI tonight. He's with some friends in Tignish, where the Arsenaults are welcoming our crew, but Mother Nature has turned this rink a little slushy this evening.
Yeah, it's almost like we're playing on a pond. You guys are getting pretty wet out here, aren't you guys? Yeah. All right, I should say, when we say Arsenault family in Tignish, that's a pretty good percentage of the population, right? Yeah. A lot of Arsenault families. So it's Irvin and Charissa Arsenault's place in Tignish, and unfortunately, yeah, it's a bit of a slushy one. So nobody's actually wearing skates tonight. We can't actually skate on the ice surface, but that's not stopping you guys. You guys having a good time? Yeah. All right, now how often are you guys on this rink? Like every night of the week?
No, like once or twice.
Once or twice? I'd be out here every night. This is amazing, but a lot of you guys have pretty busy hockey schedules. Who's coming back from practice or a game tonight? So already some tired legs on the ice here, and so we've got the Tignish Aces. You're wearing the Alberton Regals, right?
Yeah.
Is there a bit of a rivalry between the Regals and the Aces? Yeah. All right, you guys are going to be playing ball hockey at least in a minute. You guys going to keep it clean, gloves on, right?
Maybe.
Maybe not if it was O'Leary, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I know there's a big rivalry between Tignish and O'Leary, am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep it friendly with the Regals. Thank you so much. You guys can go play. I'm going to get off the, I can't say ice. I'm going to get off the slush, and we'll talk about those warmer temperatures that led to the messy ice conditions today. Let's take a look at those temperatures now. Across the island between, well, still on the plus side, 1 and 3 degrees this hour across PEI. It was quite a bit warmer earlier this afternoon. And I will say here up west in Tignish, that sunshine did return by about mid-afternoon. That also doesn't help with the ice conditions. Tomorrow, we're in a barn. It holds the cold. We should be okay. Some wind and rain in the forecast. Light winds at the moment you can see out of the south. With all of the melting we saw today, though, the fact that winds are so light, even though you're seeing a pretty quiet picture on the satellite and the radar imagery, I am concerned about some fog developing this evening and overnight. So if you are out on the roads tonight, that could be, reducing visibility in some areas, even into the early morning hours tomorrow. Although those winds by early morning out of the south to southeast will have picked up to gusting up near 50 kilometers per hour. It's into the afternoon, though. The rain will start early morning, steady rain through the afternoon, but those winds out of the south, 40 to 80 kilometers per hour. More of a westerly wind with some mixed precipitation, but still gusts upwards of 80 kilometers per hour tomorrow night. So your Wednesday shaping up to be warm, wet, and windy. Slushy conditions tonight. Luckily, at least we're indoors for our rink tomorrow. Louise?
That is good news. Thank you so much, Jay. Appreciate that. Jay will be back a little bit later. Some island students will have to wait a little longer than expected for their report cards. The public schools branch is having a problem with the computer program used to make them. So students from kindergarten to grade 9 at some schools will be affected. There's no word on how long this delay will last. Parent-teacher interviews are going ahead as planned this week. The province says the disruption is not related to the malware incident we told you about just a few moments ago. RCMP say a truck filled with potatoes rolled onto its side just before noon this afternoon in Brackley Beach. Traffic was down to one lane. Most of the potatoes spilled into a snowbank. It was at the corner by the North Winds Motel at the intersection of Route 6 and Route 15. The driver was trying to turn left. He was shaken up, but luckily he was not hurt. An island woman who sexually assaulted a 15-year-old boy has been sentenced to 1 year in jail. She was giving drugs and alcohol to young people, and the judge spoke to her today about mental health problems and her addiction as well. Brian Higgins was in court in Charlottetown today for the proceedings and has more now.
Louise, it happened in April of last year in the woman's home. RCMP began to investigate when they received a complaint from a parent that the woman had been supplying drugs and alcohol to young people and had been having sexual relations with a minor. Now, police spoke to several young people who had been in the home. They told police that the place was often messy, unheated, with little food to be had. Now, the 15-year-old boy had been living there for a while leading up to the incident. In court today, we heard that he was a former boyfriend of one of the woman's children. The defense lawyer told court the woman has a troubled past. She had alcoholic parents and was in foster homes for years, and she'd been hospitalized for mental health problems leading up to and after the incident. Justice James Gormley summed it all up as he handed down sentence. This appears to be a rather tragic, isolated incident. She is not a hardened criminal. She can benefit from help and counseling. Her life has been challenging from the outset. Louise, CBC is not naming the woman to protect the young people. She's in her mid-30s. She stood up in court today and wept as she told the judge she wants to turn her life around. In addition to 1 year jail, she's on probation for 3 years and has been ordered to get what counseling she needs for her mental health and drug problems. She's also ordered to stay away from the boy and to stay away from people under 16. Her children are now in foster care.
All right, Brian, thanks for this. That's Brian Higgins reporting in Charlottetown today. Well, the federal government announced today it will be investing over $20 million in PEI's housing market. That money will go toward housing projects in Stratford and Montague. Both will include a number of affordable units, which Ottawa says will help those struggling in PEI's tough rental market.
I just want to assure islanders that the government of Canada is with you. We know that housing is a very a top priority in the minds of islanders, especially in urban areas. There's a very low vacancy rate, and we're doing whatever we can.
Those affordable units will be run by the province, who will rent them out to islanders in need at a rate based on their income. There are no property tax increases coming this year for people who live in Summerside. The city's budget was released last night. Electricity rates won't go up either, but people will be paying more for water and sewer. Rates will increase by 1%. That's about 61 cents a month for residential customers. User rates for ice and pool rentals will increase by 3%. The big ticket item was $10 million for Phase 2 of the city's Eco Business Park. The city is also planning a review of Fire Station Number 1 to determine whether it should be renovated or replaced. The station is more than 50 years old. The budget did see a pay increase of 2% for mayor and council. So last night we told you, or give you a sneak peek about Savannah Cutcliffe and her story. She's a grade 7 student at Amherst Cove. Savannah promised to shave her head if she reached her goal of raising $500 for Children's Wish Foundation. Now she did that and more. Have a look.
It first started when my sisters donated to Children's Wish Foundation all their birthday money. So I decided that I wanted to do something like that, and I was going to shave my head for this fundraiser. A lot of children that are sick, they lose their hair from their sickness, and I decided that I have the choice for it to grow back. So I wanted to do something big that makes a difference.
My name is Randy Gallant, and I'm principal here at Amherst Cove Consolidated. I can't say I was really surprised. She's kind of, like, over the years, she's been known to do a lot of fundraising, both within the school and outside, like for Terry Fox and different foundations. She's a very caring girl. I think in an elementary school, the kids can relate to that a lot. I think they've probably had classmates over the years, or schoolmates over the years, or maybe family or friends that have been in a situation that maybe they benefited from Children's Wish, so I think the kids can really relate to that.
I'm feeling very proud of myself and the people that shaved their head with me, and I'm very happy. The looks on everybody's faces when I shave my head is going to be the one thing that I'm going to remember, and even everybody said they were proud of me, and I'm really happy that people put forward to donating all the money.
One person can change the world. Like Savannah just started with a little tiny goal, and it just grew from there, where she's at least 10 times her goal. She's done amazing, and I think it's a good message to all the kids out there. There's so much negative news in the world right now, so it's nice to see some positive stories too.
It's inspiring and overwhelming at the same time. It was so exciting to hear the school chant for her and for everyone up that shaved their heads. It was such a great energy. Really, really loved it.
Having everybody sitting there and me having the feel of the razor on my head, it made me feel so happy, and I hope I can do it again when my hair grows back and have another fundraiser.
Savannah, you're bringing tears to my eyes. That is amazing. Well done to you and your teachers there as well. Much more still to come on Compass tonight before 7 o'clock. Coming up, I Live Here Now. Tonight we begin a special series profiling people from around the world who have chosen to move to PEI. Incidents of racism appear to be growing as the spread of coronavirus does. What one university is doing about that. The other issue with the continued spread of the disease is the question of whether to travel with March break right around the corner. And as we go to break, a peek outside on this Tuesday night that is live in Tignish. No skates tonight. Mother Nature took care of that. A bit too slushy for the ice skates, but we are live from the Arsenault's rink. Jay is live in Tignish tonight. We're back with weather after this. Stay with us. Live from Tignish, it is Tuesday night. That is where Jay Scotland is tonight. What once was a rink is now a bit of a slushy mess, but that's okay. No spirits being dampened there, right, Jay?
No, but I will say the players are pretty damp. They're being dampened right now as they're cutting up that slush, and it's almost a pond at this point, right? Yeah. All right, it's been a struggle this time of the year when the sun's getting up higher in the sky and Mother Nature throws temperatures well above freezing. I imagine the ice conditions, the attempt isn't even made to try and fix it, right?
No, it's not worth it at this point. Just do what we can.
Now, those boys are out there tearing it up right now. Does this mean this is the end of the season for the rink, Irvin?
I would say, yeah, this is the end.
Okay, now this rink has been, you built this about 10 years ago?
Yes, I did, yep.
Okay, and you got a couple of boys out there playing right now. Daughter plays hockey as well, right?
No, just the two boys play hockey.
Okay. Oh, okay.
She's involved in Girl Guides.
Oh, okay. Sorry, she used to play hockey last season, right?
Yeah.
All right. So this gets a lot of use, and you've been really watching this rink grow as they've grown, right?
Yes, very much.
You were saying you actually had to raise the lights up this year.
Yeah, I was scared they were going to start breaking light bulbs with their hockey sticks.
Oh, so as they get taller, the lights had to go up.
Yes, everything has to grow with them.
Well, see, in the Scotland family rink, you wouldn't have to do that. Just we should also give a special shout out. You got your grandmother here, right, Nelda, right?
Grandmother Nelda.
Nelda, I noticed, Nelda, you're wearing the Aces jersey, but one of your great grandsons is wearing a Regals jersey.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
I'll have to be.
Yeah, I guess you have to be. All right. Well, thank you so much for having us here. We were at. Are you related to the Arsenaults up the street?
Yeah, distantly, yeah.
All right, because we were there last year. They're a beautiful rink. Now we're at another Arsenaults and another beautiful backyard rink. Unfortunately, a bit too slushy to be on the skates, but having fun just the same. All right, let's take a look at those temperatures now across all three maritime provinces, and we are looking at those milder conditions still in place, not just here on PEI, but look at Edmundston, New Brunswick, sitting at 4 degrees as well. Fredericton sitting at 6, Greenwood, Nova Scotia, 8 degrees, 3 degrees in Charlottetown as we zoom in to check out those temperatures across the island, and still sitting between +1 and +3. Winds generally out of the south, becoming a little bit variable at times, and that's just because we are looking at lighter winds, and this is the concern. Until those winds start to pick up, few hours after midnight, light winds, a lot of melt water. That means moisture in the atmosphere, and fairly quiet conditions in terms of a clear sky for the evening hours. It will be increasing through the evening. That is a risk of, or a recipe for fog, and we do have that risk a little later this evening and through the overnight hours tonight. So temperatures will stay around the freezing mark, generally between -1 and +1. We are in between weather makers. Now, this is a pretty complicated weather system you can see here. We've got a frontal system that worked through already, and you can see that we had some snow changing to some showers this morning. Then that moved off to our east. That frontal system continues to move out. But we have another frontal system that'll be moving in from our south and west. And this time, with temperatures already quite warm, we're going to see this one arriving likely as rain early tomorrow morning. And that rain will be falling steadily with a strong south to southeast wind that will be setting up morning into the afternoon. It becomes more of a southwest wind. And then as we get into tomorrow evening, we'll see some mixed precipitation, some wet snow with some rain showers, eventually changing over to wet snow, and it'll be a strong westerly wind. And at times, through the afternoon and again in the evening, we have 2 rounds of strong winds. Those winds will be sustained 40 to 50, gusting 60 to near 80 kilometers per hour. So it's going to be quite a gusty one, in addition to pretty slushy and, pretty soggy, just with the melting and the 10 to 15 plus millimeters of rain. So 10 to just over 15 millimeters of rain, plus the meltwater. You can expect some pretty slushy conditions on the roads as well. Tonight, temperatures between 0 and +1. Fog is possible over western PEI. As we take a look at our conditions tomorrow, here in Tignish, about 4 degrees, and generally between 4 and 5 degrees will be those afternoon temperatures over the western half of the island tomorrow. Central eastern areas around 1 degree to 2 degree mark through the overnight hours tonight with the risk of some fog. We'll get into some steadier rain early tomorrow morning, tapers off to showers late afternoon, and then another round of wet snow and rain showers working in with strong westerly winds into your Wednesday evening. So windy in the afternoon and windy in the evening, and it will be soggy with the melting and the rain falling through the day. We get back to cooler time. I will say the rink tomorrow's indoors. A big shout out to my producer, our senior producer, Tracy, for getting us at an indoor rink tomorrow. Your timing is impeccable, Tracy. We need to be indoors tomorrow. Back outdoors for Thursday with that temperature topping out at or below freezing, around -1 likely for a daytime high. We'll still be quite windy on Thursday as well. Clearing up for Friday, we're going to be at the PEI Home Show indoors then, but a lot of sunshine and more seasonal to below seasonal temperatures. And then we cool off into the weekend. I am tracking a nor'easter system that at the moment is looking to stay east of PEI. but we could see some accumulating snow and some strong winds on Saturday. You'll want to keep checking back, though, for updates on that, just depending on the track of that system. At the moment, worst of the weather, luckily, or hopefully, I should say, staying to our east, but that would be subject to change. And that is a look at your 7-day forecast. Louise?
All right, thanks, Jay. I love them all out there in their willy boots, rubber boots behind you there. Okay, look at this picture. Hello there, little friend. Jonah McMillan took this picture in Victoria Park. That is pretty darn cute. Just taking a break, you know. We'd love to put your photos on Compass. You can send them to us by email, or you can always tag us on social media as well. Coming up, we begin a special series profiling people from around the world who've chosen to move here to PEI. They come to study, to work, and sometimes for their own safety. The series is called I Live Here Now, and it's right after the break.
I'm Mitch Cormier. Wednesday on Island Morning, Peers Alliance has held one session so far and has two more scheduled about safe drug use on Prince Edward Island. Not only an opportunity to help educate drug users, but also find out some of the services they need. That's coming up on the next Island Morning.
So we're starting a new series tonight, telling the stories of people who have moved to PEI from other countries. We will introduce you to 8 immigrants who have come here to study, to work, and sometimes for their own safety. The series is called I Live Here Now. Tonight we meet Mandeep Kaur from India.
When I came here, I'm only 18, and in my country, I never went outside like without my parents. When I came here, it's first time to me to go outside by myself. Hi, my name is Mandeep Kaur. I come from Punjab, India. Now I am living here. According to me, oh, sorry, it's a professional word, right? I am taking an international hospitality management course at Holland College. It is more about restaurants and hotels. When I came here, I saw there in Canada there are a lot of restaurants and hotels, and the business is growing. Here in Canada, the women and men are treated as same. Like women are same strong like men's and everything, but in my country I never work, we never allowed to work when we are studying, and here we are allowed to do a part-time work when we are studying. Is a good opportunity for us to learn about the management skills and like a time management, everything in an early age. 1 year to go. I work at McDonald's. I want to work in a franchise. I want to run a franchise, so that's why. My husband's name is Amritpal Jatka. We are talk each other like every day. I want to be my family here in Canada because I am like a homesick. It's difficult for me to stay here without family. So when my husband come, and I also want to invite my family and his family here. When I do prayer, I am relaxed, and like in my mind, I am only concentrated on my holy book. My family is doing the same thing like me, worship every day, morning, evening. Why?
Because our house is so nice.
In this house, Barb is like my mother, and she helped me a lot. She's my Canadian mother. We made a painting with shells, which we took from beach, and then we make a beautiful lady. It's a creative. I like to listen to a Punjabi music. I never shared my space with other girls. It's my first time to sharing with the girls. We are good. I am now I having all about my career, no plans about children. Yeah, I am expecting to stay here in Canada because I like everything here now. I am thinking about to stay in PEI for a long time.
And we hope you do stay for a long time. You can read more about Mandeep's story, her arranged marriage, her journey to get here, even her first time going outside alone at the age of 18. That is all online as well at cbc.ca/PEI, and we will have more stories in the weeks ahead as well. And as we go to break, another look at that great backyard rink turned slushy pond in Tignish. Of course, Jay had said earlier this week, with the backyard rink series this week and the temperatures warming up, we could have a backyard pond series instead. Well, that's kind of happened here in Tignish tonight, but the Arsenaults are gracefully accepting us there, inviting our crew to play a little ball hockey now instead of ice hockey. We're back from Tignish a little bit later with more weather. Stay with us. Two Mi'kmaq students at a high school in Nova Scotia say they're being discriminated against when it comes to how they are disciplined by staff. Administrators are acknowledging there is a problem and they are working to fix it. Ali Thompson has this story in this CBC News investigation.
Xavier Sack of the Sipekne'katik First Nation says staff are too quick to hand out suspensions when dealing with Indigenous students at Hants East Rural High in Milford Station. Sack was recently suspended for 40 days for his part in an altercation at the school, although he says he never physically assaulted anyone. He thinks his suspension was too harsh.
Some days you feel like you always have to be on guard. You're always protecting yourself, right? Some teachers don't understand what we go through a lot.
Miguel Greer was also recently suspended. He says he feels Indigenous students are handed longer suspensions than white students and that they aren't taken seriously by staff.
Not a lot of Native students like to talk about it because it is so hard to get a word out there and to actually have people stand behind you.
The school's governing body acknowledges there's a problem. Figures provided by the Shinekto Central Regional Center for Education show 20% of all Indigenous students in the district were suspended last school year. Self-identified students of Indigenous and African ancestry make up only 10% of the student population, but represented 17% of suspensions overall. Administrators acknowledge Indigenous students are being suspended at disproportionate rates.
That has been the work that many staff are digging into in terms of acknowledging systemic bias, reflecting on decisions that have been made, and doing a lot of inward-looking exercises to understand and improve on that.
Adams says the school is working to address the issue. He says a healing circle with members of the Sipekne'katik community was recently held, and staff across the province are receiving treaty education. But one community member and Mi'kmaq advocate says that's not enough. Cheryl Maloney says the provincial government should form a task force to examine the issue. She says there are other discipline options.
I think we're doing a really poor job of finding those alternatives. And I think what we need to do is realize that this is a crisis right now. This is a crisis. You can save somebody's life by doing something immediate.
The community has a history of racism. The Shubenacadie Residential School, where some Mi'kmaq children suffered physical, emotional, and sexual abuse between 1923 and 1967, was located a short drive from the high school. Xavier Sack says the historical wounds in the community have not healed. He says although he doesn't always experience racism in an overt way, he feels systemic racism has led to ongoing tensions within the school.
It sucks because sometimes you don't feel safe at school.
Ali Thompson, CBC News, Milford Station.
Well, as the coronavirus continues to spread around the world, so do incidents of racism. Earlier this week, Memorial University in Newfoundland issued a statement from the president urging people not to give in to racist stereotypes about coronavirus. Terry Roberts reports.
We want people to think before they talk.
The Dean of Graduate Students says this is what prompted the president's statement.
We are getting a few complaints, not from Chinese students themselves, but from their classmates and lab mates who have witnessed other students or other lab mates making what they thought were funny remarks or remarks calling it the China virus or making jokes about having to use hand sanitizers and things like that.
In a word, ignorance.
Observers were actually uncomfortable with this sort of behavior and really felt that the university should make a public statement to say that people should be aware of the things that they're saying and how hurtful it can be.
But this master's student from China has not encountered any problems.
Everyone around me, my friends, they all respect me. They may have some questions about the virus, but they asked respectfully.
Though his friends in Vancouver have not been so lucky.
When they do shopping in the grocery store, when they were wearing masks, people trying to get away from them.
So Fang says he appreciates the president's message.
It minimized the tension and some misunderstanding of the international students.
There have been numerous incidents in North America and beyond of people of Asian descent being harassed or attacked because of erroneous coronavirus fears. And in a statement on the university's news site last week, President Gary Katchanowski said some members of the Hmong community have been singled out and felt ostracized and mistreated by others. He said racism and xenophobia will not be tolerated. It was a message repeated today by Surprenet.
We've been hearing about it in the media in other places around the world, and so we just wanted to get ahead of it before it started to get any worse.
Jason Fang urged people to educate themselves and is confident the virus can be contained.
We as Chinese, we are optimistic about it, and we think we can fight the virus.
Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, warmer temperatures are just around the corner, and that has city arborists in Moncton making plans for an invasive pest. The emerald ash borer was detected in the city last summer. The insect destroys trees by boring into the wood and laying their eggs just below the bark. And it takes about 6 years for that process to kill a tree. Currently, there are about 500 ash trees along city streets and in parks. About 450 of them are still in good shape and will be injected with an insecticide that repels the emerald ash borer. The remaining 50 trees that are in poor condition will have to be cut down and replanted. The municipality won't be able to help property owners, but there are several private contractors who can. And we'll be right back after this break.
For your top stories from the East Coast, join me, Amy Smith, and meteorologist Ryan Snodden for Atlantic Tonight, right after the National.
Well, as governments step up their efforts to contain the spread of the coronavirus, officials are also trying to reassure their citizens and financial markets. And with the Summer Olympics in Tokyo just months away, Japan and the sports world finds itself wrestling with the challenge of pushing ahead with the Games. Nazima Walji reports.
Good morning.
Today at its headquarters in Switzerland, the IOC president said that despite the coronavirus outbreak, the International Olympic Committee and the Japanese government are fully committed to the Tokyo Games.
I would like to encourage all the athletes to continue their preparation for the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 with great confidence and with full steam.
The IOC says it's working closely with the host city of Tokyo, the Japanese government, and the World Health Organization. Japan has been taking extra measures to contain the outbreak that has infected thousands across the globe. It's encouraging employees to work from home and shutting down schools.
Numbers are coming down.
And doctors with the World Health Organization are encouraging these kinds of efforts to curb the spread of the virus.
Other countries are making huge sacrifices in order for that to happen.
Adding, it's time for other countries to step up.
Countries like Korea, like Japan, like China have implemented very, very strong measures that have affected their own economies and their own societies. And that has bought time for others. And it was really a duty of others to use that time that's been bought.
The French president is also putting in measures to ensure all stock and production of face masks be distributed to health professionals and people infected with the coronavirus. His announcement came after the country marked its 4th death from the virus. Here at home, as new cases emerge in BC and Ontario, health officials say the overall risk to Canadians remains low. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he recognizes the challenges ahead.
There are a number of countries that have made different choices, but we are confident that what we have done in Canada, what we continue to do in Canada, is right for Canada.
And maintains Canada will continue to follow recommendations laid out by the WHO. Nazima Walji, CBC News, Toronto.
And as more countries report local cases of the coronavirus, Canadians planning to travel abroad are watching and wondering what to do exactly, especially with March break just around the corner. Some are wondering if there's a way to salvage the vacation. Others are ready to cancel their trip, even if it means losing their money. CBC's Kayla Hounsell has that story.
So was there anything new posted at any time this morning here, Siobhan?
No, more and more parents want to pull out.
Breakfast at the O'Toole House these days is combined with keeping a close eye on a planned school trip to Europe. 16-year-old Ryan is supposed to go next week.
I could possibly be put into quarantine or even get the virus myself. I would hate to do that. And if I didn't notice, I could spread it here and harm people.
Students will travel to Madrid, Paris, and Rome. The Canadian government is advising against all non-essential travel to northern Italy.
I'm going to forfeit the monies that we paid and keep my son safe.
Which is how much?
$4,600.
Canada is also advising against non-essential travel to China and Iran. Other countries have lower-level advisories. The government isn't saying don't go, but is recommending Canadians practice special precautions.
The one that I'm more concerned about is Tokyo because
Matt Whalen is planning a trip to Japan with his sister. He used to live there while teaching English and promised to bring her back. As type 1 diabetics, they both have compromised immune systems.
we are at slightly higher risk for either contracting a virus like COVID-19 or being more seriously affected. So, we might require hospitalization where somebody else might not.
For the O'Tooles, there's no question.
People are dying, and to send children to Europe at this stage just does not make any sense to me whatsoever.
Today, Nova Scotia's education minister says the provincial government is considering cancelling all school trips. That would allow the O'Tooles to make an insurance claim. They're still hoping their son can go to Europe another time when coronavirus is no longer a concern. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Westfall, Nova Scotia.
In the U.S., at least 22 people are dead and an entire subdivision has been destroyed after a series of storms and at least one tornado ripped through Tennessee overnight.
I encourage all of you to pray for the families across our state that are facing tragedy right now.
Homes across several counties were torn to pieces, leaving hundreds of people in need of temporary shelter. In the country music capital, Nashville, dozens of buildings were damaged and more than 150 people were rushed to hospital with a range of injuries. The public received a tornado warning, giving residents about 6 minutes to prepare before that twister touched down. Schools in the region will be closed for the rest of the week, if not longer. President Donald Trump says he will visit the area on Friday. Tornado season in the southern states peaks in March and usually extends through May. It is Super Tuesday in America, one of the biggest days in that country's election calendar. Democrats in 14 states will pick the candidate they think can beat Donald Trump. CBC's senior Washington editor Lindsay Duncombe sets it up for us.
Hi, how are you?
Lots of love for Bernie Sanders at his home polling station in Vermont. Victory here, a near certainty. But Sanders' frontrunner status is challenged in the hours leading up to today's vote.
I think you got to be blind not to see it. The corporate establishment and the Democratic establishment are working hard against us.
Here's why he's saying that. Two moderate candidates have just dropped out, throwing their support behind the former vice president who won big in South Carolina over the weekend.
I am focused on helping Joe Biden.
This is your voter pass. This is the single largest voting day of the primary season, even more super than previous Super Tuesdays, with the addition of California, and even more unpredictable thanks to this man, former New York Mayor Mike Bloomberg. He entered the race as a moderate when Joe Biden faltered. With the establishment moving to Biden, does Bloomberg have a shot? His strategy? The long haul.
Do you want a contested?
Well, I don't think that I can win any other way.
That possibility looms large, that no one candidate gets a majority of delegates. And the uncertainty about who Democrats believe has the best chance of beating Donald Trump continues into the summer. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Washington.
Here is a look at how the markets performed today. The Canadian dollar still trading below 75 cents US. The TSX losing steam today, off 129 points. And look at that drop on the Dow, and that was despite an interest rate cut by the U.S. Federal Reserve. They're trying to offset the impact of novel coronavirus, but investors didn't really respond to that, off by 785, nearly 86 points by the closing bell. And a look at commodities tonight, where we did see the price of oil higher on the day, just 43 cents, still below $50 though, and gold $49.60 U.S. an ounce higher today. Last peek at weather now, and I don't think a lot of people were complaining about the milder temperatures today, except if you're trying to play ice hockey in Tignish.
Well, I don't think the kids are complaining, but I'll tell you this, Louise. Irvin's probably not too happy about the condition that the rink is in now after the warmth today and then letting these guys out on the ice for our benefit of our Compass viewers tonight. But I think this may be the end of the season for this rink. But it had a good run. Made it from December all the way. And last year, they actually made it all the way to March break, starting in mid-December. So it's been 2 good years in a row for rink conditions here in Tignish anyway. And I will say, with all that rain and those strong winds tomorrow, I know our camera guy Shane and myself are going to be very happy to be in an indoor rink tomorrow, in a barn anyway. It'll be covered, which will be a good thing. Hopefully more of a solid than a slushy surface on tomorrow's rink. All right, let's take a look at your day planner forecast for tomorrow. And it's not going to just be warm like it was today. Actually, about the same temperature range tomorrow, between 4 and 7 degrees across the island for those daytime highs. But the winds are going to be very, very gusty. More of a south to southwest wind in the afternoon, and then late afternoon into the evening, that wind will start to become more westerly, and we get 2 rounds of pretty strong winds. It's almost a continuous strong wind event. Southerlies becoming westerlies, 40 to 80 kilometers per hour. So winds are going to be an issue tomorrow, and also slushy and soggy conditions. So if low-lying roads will probably be washed out in some areas. If you're a pedestrian, be prepared for a splashy stroll if you are walking beside a busy street, and you are going to be looking at if your basement takes on water, maybe keeping an eye on the dryness of your basement, as we are going to be looking at 10 to 15 or so millimeters of rain, in addition to a lot more melting and some pretty gusty winds as well. So warm, wet, and windy for Wednesday, but then we cool back down again for Thursday's rink as we're back outdoors, Louise. So I'm counting my blessings on that cooler forecast as we edge towards the end of the week.
Yeah, good advice. Check in your basement if you're prone to some water getting in there, because yes, it'll be a lot of melting. And good advice too on not being too close to the road when cars are zipping past and slashing it. All right. See you tomorrow, Jay, and see you tomorrow as well. Thank you for joining us tonight for Compass. Good night, PEI.